LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers brought to you by bookmakers.com. It is full-time Reds, finished at Anfield, Liverpool 1, Fulham 0. Show tonight brought to you by bookmakers.com. Head on over to their website if you're into a little bit of the sports gambling to get the best odds on all the sports from all the best bookmakers. They got good stats and analysis on there as well, but mostly you should subscribe to their YouTube channel so you can catch Gav's show that he does there on Thursdays. He'll have another one coming out this weekend, which should be good, seeing as that he usually has a Spurs fan on, and I believe some hilarious things happened when we played Spurs at the weekend, so that'll be fun to listen to.
Great game tonight.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Joined tonight by Chris and Kev. Chris, how was you were at the Spurs game on the weekend? I know that's not the show we're doing, but I mean, you got to let us know how that was.
Oh, it was great, mate. The first 20 minutes were amazing, and the last two were even better. Should never have got to that, but, you know, if you'd have said to me, look, we're going to win it, but Charles is going to score, and then 90 seconds later, we're going to score the winner and break his heart. I mean, I'll be honest, I'd have took that all day, to be honest. And I laughed my arse off at the moany arses behind me who left bang on 3-3. Told you to be 3-3. So I quite like the fact that they also didn't get much.
They wouldn't have gotten very far. I'm sure they still got to enjoy the winner. Yeah. Probably.
I saw the plane fly. I saw the plane fly over. Where I was stood in the cop, I got one of three reactions: a shrug. That's that'll do fuck all. And all right, that was literally the reaction it gets. So it's kind of it doesn't really do anything.
The best thing about that, it never got a single mention on TV.
No.
You could hear it, but they never once.
You can see it, but I think if you don't like the owners, you want them out flying a plane. I'll be honest, it's not really the thing. Yeah. But look, game was great. Atmosphere was good. It was just a bit turgid, really, but a bit like today. I mean, a bit like today. Today was quite standard, routine, dull 1-0. You know, they had a few hairy moments. So did we, but kind of what you want, really. 5 wins on the spin. What more can you need?
Yeah, exactly. Kev, how'd you like today's game?
Yeah, it was all right. You know, it's
five wins in a row.
Yeah, I prefer the clean sheet. It's been a while since we had one of them. Allison didn't have much to do, but what he had to do, he did well. Overall, it was all right. You know, it was fine. It was one of those end of season games we've had pretty much every year where you just get through it. You know, Fulham are a good side. They're having a great season, and they play some good stuff. And credit where it's due. Harry Wilson times his runs when he bends them from coming back to going on really, really well. Willian is quick. I don't care how old he is. Willian is still quick. And
shockingly.
Yeah, he's, you know, at the end of the day, he's a good player. Palhinha, excellent player. Robinson, really impressed.
So good.
Robinson is, and for a young player, come out of the MLS, you know, a lot was made of him that he was going to be a special talent, and he looks like he's going to be a proper player. But yeah, no, I was impressed enough with what Fulham did, because it would have been easy to just, you know, they're safe, they're not going down, they're not going to get Europe. It would have been easy to just come up to the northwest or the northwest for the day out and fold. They didn't, and we were good in patches, you know. So I was happy enough overall. Look, I'm just delighted with the win, delighted with the clean sheet. Some performances I was really happy with. Some I could need to improve, but overall, okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think I might just go a little out of order here. I quite like the game, just in a general sense. I really like the performance from the team, and the biggest thing I took away from the game, and you guys can tell me if you disagree, it felt like tryouts. Like, it felt like auditions of show me what you can do. Like, if you look at the players that were playing in positions you wouldn't normally see them in. So Tsimikas comes in for Robertson. We've never seen Tsimikas been asked to play as that left center half in this new hybrid system.
Hopefully not again.
I didn't think Tsimikas was terrible defensively. I didn't think he was terrible defensively. Yeah, he was caught out a couple of times, but he also got back in and averted some danger a couple of times. Going forward, he was abysmal. He looked completely lost. And again, his first time playing an actual live fire game in that position. So I'm kind of okay with it. Like, Harvey Elliott coming on late in the game and taking the spot of Mo Salah. To me, that's a real like here we go. And at the heart of this all is to talk about the lineup. That midfield three again. Curtis Jones is like Chris. I think he's really playing himself into a serious shout at having that shirt come preseason.
Yeah, I think he's putting himself into what I thought he would be, which is a very handy squad option. I think with the additions we hope Liverpool make in the summer, is he going to be the regular? No, but I think if he could keep this level he's playing at, you don't mind when he gets dropped in, because I keep using it. The analogy is he could be Liverpool's Nicky Butt, and Nicky Butt played 40 games a season for United in and out, and got them and just got jobs done for other players. And I think it's just what a run of games can do for you. The big thing with Curtis Jones has always been, can you keep him fit? Because once he's fit and he's got a run of games under himself, he's picking his passes better. He doesn't chew the ball as much. He's now starting to be a bit more inventive with his passing in terms of he'll take a shot on, or he's been a bit creative. And his work rate's got up a level that, he needed to anyway. So all in all, I'm happy for the lad because he gets a lot of unfair stick. I mean, I do see a lot online of if he wasn't Scouse, he would be in the team. I think if he wasn't Scouse, he wouldn't get half the shit he gets. I actually think being Scouse is a hindrance for him because I think there's higher expectation. Andy Kaufman saying, for fuck's sake, Chris, Nicky Butt. But you can do it in any club. Darren Fletcher, or, look at all the great sides that won stuff. Look at City. Fabian Delph played 40 games for them at left back and centre mid. You wouldn't say he's a great player for City, but he did a job and he just filled gaps in. That's what Curtis Jones can do. You can get a very good career out of that. And then look, if he can progress further, brilliant.
Yeah. Kev, the other player I thought was just outstanding because, again, pretty routine 1-0, so there's not a lot of action per se to talk about. Trent, to me, just looks better and better every game. Like he was, especially in the first half where I thought all of our players were really on it quite well. Trent looks so good. So good.
Yeah, Trent's an excellent footballer. We know that. And the fact that we can get him on the ball in the middle of the pitch, where he's the extra man in that position, is brilliant. There is going to be problems going the other way, but for what he offers going forward in that spot, arguably Kevin De Bruyne is the other one in that position of the pitch that you'd want there. Odegaard this season, his ability to pick a pass. Trent is right up there with any of them someone who can spot a pass, looks to try to play it forward as much as possible, and has the ability to ping someone 30 yards and in. It's brilliant to see. How we address the fact that it does leave gaps is going to be something that has to be addressed in the summer. Because this like I keep saying, this is a work in progress, and there's going to be teething problems with it. Tonight we got out of jail a couple of times, but in general,
I thought Fabinho dropped a bit more.
Yeah, I thought Fabinho had a really good game.
But I think when Trent goes across sometimes to the left-hand side, which he's given that freedom to do, and Konate goes out, Fabinho made himself the other centre-back, which I think balances out. So then you're not asking Trent to do doggies across the pitch to get over those quick. So I think we sort of got a balance a bit better this time. Yeah. They still got him, but
a lot of that is going to be just trial and error. Seeing how patterns of play evolve and other players, it just becomes instinct. With the press, that when we were at our best at it, it was instinct of knowing where sides were going to play before, we were 2 passes ahead almost all the time. And you could tell with Leno, it was either going to go on the ground out to his right-hand side, or it was going to go over Mo's head to Robinson, who was trying to make a run down the left-hand side. It didn't vary it that much. So someone to read that is just what you need. But that comes with practice and rhythm and timing and everything else. When I saw Fulham playing out from the back, I was delighted because I love it when sides try to play out from the back against us, because more often than not it will create a chance, and we created plenty of chances off the back of that alone tonight, but just didn't have the final pass or a killer instinct in front of goal to finish them off. A bit of composure maybe in the final third at times. But you could see the opportunities when they were being presented. It was from winning the ball in the right areas. And for me, like what you were saying about Costas, my only worry about Costas when he started, it was his first start in Youngs, is when he makes the decision to go on the outside, on the overlap. It's knowing when to make that decision, not as a left back, but as a left centre back.
I think it was more looking over his shoulder, because I think I thought this got behind him every time. That's
the knowing when you can go, when you can't go, and knowing that if you do decide to go that bit higher and take that bit of a risk, you cannot lose the ball in that position, because not only are you out of position, Trent's out of position as well, because he's in centre mid, and you are 2v2 with 2 or 3 running at your 2 centre backs. So it's just awareness, and maybe it'll come for him, maybe it won't. Maybe it's a position that in time we're going to have to address. But for now, for the rest of the season, I was happy enough for him to start. I'm delighted that we got the win with him starting, because Robertson definitely needed the rest.
Yeah, I think squad harmony wise, it's right that Robertson wasn't picked, because let's be honest, he had a shit show against Spurs. So I think you've got to keep that squad harmony of, well, because I think you're Simicast going, well, if I don't get in against Fulham after he has a shit show last week, when do I get in? I may as well go. You've got to kind of keep that balance right. Were you surprised with the front three?
No. No. I mean, Darwin Núñez was due a start. I felt that before the game, like before the lineups dropped, it felt like Darwin Núñez was just going to come back into the team. And the word that Jota might have picked up some sort of a knock, whether it was in the last game or in training, I thought we might not see him at all, but he was on the bench. As it turns out, he comes on, he makes his little cameo appearance. So I was okay with the front three, and 2 out of the 3 of them I thought played good.
Yeah, no, what surprised me was I was surprised Diaz did back-to-back. After a long layoff, I wasn't expecting to do back-to-back, so I just assumed it'd be Salah, Gakpo, and then a fight for the left-hand side. So, but listen, to be fair, Diaz, a game like the Spurs game, I thought he was good for about 50 minutes, and then I think he blew himself out, but it's a long injury layoff. If I'm honest, I think apart from winning the penalty, I thought Darwin struggled. No, he hasn't started a lot of games, but I think call a spade a spade. I thought he was pretty abject today. It just wasn't his day today. Look, it happens, but...
The thing is with Darwin, you can see clearly what Darwin offers as opposed to what Gakpo offers.
Yeah.
Darwin will make runs in behind, and he'll put pressure on the centre backs for as long as he's on the pitch. He'll keep making runs all day long. And there were times when Trent was finding him, and maybe it's just touch, maybe it's just field rhythm, whatever, just a lack of minutes on the pitch. Confidence, you can call it what you like. But the difference between when Gakpo plays, when he plays, is stark. But saying that, Gakpo is more used to how the system is playing. He's match sharp.
And he speaks I think also speaks the language, so he's probably picking it up quicker.
But he's dropping that. He drops deeper to make that extra body to link others into play. Diaz was very good. In the flashes where you saw him one-on-one, when you saw him dribbling at players, confidence. There was times when he thought, just touch it out your right foot and have a dig. But, more often than not, he picked the right option almost all the time. And he had a really good game. Darwin, look, you saw what he gives you for the penalty, because that lightning pace, that instinct to get to the ball and draw a foul. I don't think anyone else, Gakpo might do it, but I think Darwin has that instinct to do it. Where he puts because of putting pressure on centre backs and just forcing them to make early decisions. It was just that razor sharpness to go for it, because I've seen plenty of players would have just thrown a lazy leg out and trying to just block the clearance kind of thing. He thought he could get it and he got there, and it was that moment from him that literally decided the game. Because other than that, we didn't work Leno enough in the same way as they didn't really work Alisson enough, bar one real effort.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we can get a bit of confidence in him, I sort of feel like if you're playing like a top 6 side or like a big European away, I feel you play Gakpo. But I think if you want to play a flat track bully, I think that's Núñez's game. through the middle, which, to be honest, I'm not adverse to that because horses for courses pretty much. So, but hopefully for Nunes, it's a bit of it'll get him, minutes to his legs, bit of confidence. But I would expect Gakpo to start against Brentford because I think that sort of game we probably do need a bit more subtlety, I would say.
Apparently, from what I gathered about Diogo Jota, was he got that knock in a game where he bruised his back. Was it West Ham? It might have been the West Ham. It might have been the West Ham game.
He didn't play. He didn't train. Did he?
He didn't train after that. He come on for 20 minutes. He come on for the end of the Spurs game. It was noticeable, even during his celebrations. None of the players touched him. He got a knock in that game as well, according to what Klopp was saying in his press conference. And he hasn't trained up until today either. So, it's like, it's just bruised rib. But if anyone has ever had a bruised rib, you know how painful that can be. So it might just be a case that at the moment he's an option off the bench. But if you looked at your bench and you're thinking, okay, I'm bringing Gakpo and Jota off the bench with 20 to go, you're happy enough for that.
Which one's more painful, a bruised rib or being attacked by a cat?
Matt?
Probably the bruised rib. The cat attack didn't make it so that every breath you took, had a pang of pain about it. There's a comment here from Laszlo Panaflex that I've been saving. He says, when it comes to Darwin, it's the system, not the player. And I think it's something too, because I think it's both. I thought he didn't have a great game today outside of winning the penalty with his pace. And he had a couple other opportunities where he was able to really open his legs up because it's such a game changer for him. But he had to come in and learn the system when it was a 4-3-3. And he kind of got up to speed with it. And we could see Darwin, he was picking up minutes when there were no other bodies. So he had to play every week. That he looked like he was coming to terms with it. And now we've decided to change the system on him halfway through. And so it just can't help. I mean,
but you're still playing a front three, and you're still expecting him when he plays as a number 9 to stretch the defense, get wide where he can, and make sure he's in the box when we get to cross opportunities, which we were doing pre-4-3-3 and the current one now. So for him, it's not like if he was staying left, I'd understand it because I think there is a different nuance now if you play on the left to help with the Trent coming into the middle. He's playing through the middle as number 9. I don't think it's massively different for him. You don't think going from having one person at the base of the midfield to 2 people at the base of midfield completely and totally changes the angles of all the passes? It completely does. It doesn't because we start there. We still getting Trent out wide, just that we're freer to whip his crosses that he always.
But now he's getting out wide on the left-hand side of the double pivot because again, Trent was he pops up everywhere, like he wants the ball absolutely everywhere. Whereas before he was more segregated out onto that right back role.
If anything, for me, it makes Darwin's job a bit easier, which is stay between the penalty box because that's where the ball's coming to you. And I just think Cole as it is, he just had a bad game. I don't think systems are he's just not in form at the moment, and that happens.
Well, it's got to come. It's got to take time for him.
Yeah. He gets the fantasy assist, so he gets. I thought there was opportunities in the first half where Fulham looked like they might pose some danger, but anytime they got the ball on the front foot at all, I felt extremely composed about how we were defending at the back. Like there was no horrific errors. Like nobody made a silly back pass. Like nobody got caught on the ball and turned it over and they immediately had that. Virgil, that clearance from Virgil van Dijk. I don't know how he doesn't put that in for an own goal. This is 2 games or 2 weeks in a row where he's made a great goal line clearance and just managed to get the angle perfect on it and keep the ball from going through the back of our net. Like I thought defensively, we were pretty decent today at the back, even though they had a few chances. Again, like I said, where they look like they might be able to hurt us.
It's just a couple of miscommunications between Virgil and Canati for getting the line right. One's dropping a bit deeper than the other, which is how they got one of their main chances in the first half. But again, it's adapting to a new system, so we are going to get these little glitches. And let's be honest, we've been ballsing up defence all season anyway. So I think defensively it was fine, and I think the shots that Alisson had to save, most of the ones you would expect him to save, I would say. The biggest one was probably the one late in the second half where he gets the big hand to, is it Vinicius' shot?
Vinicius, yeah.
I would probably say that was the most difficult save he had to make. I think anything else was, by his standards, I would say fairly routine.
In fairness, if Vinicius had picked his head up at all, that had to go across goal. It was, and the space was there. It was a bad decision by him. David makes a point there. Kanate worked his ass off. He did, but for that one chance, he followed the ball and knocked the man, and he got caught.
But he was definitely more composed than we saw.
Oh yeah, he was much better than he was against Spurs, because Spurs he shit the bed.
Yeah.
Against Spurs he was so nervy and panicky that
it's unlike him, isn't it?
He needs to learn from that, because plenty of sides are going to do that to us in moments, in patches of games where you're going to be pinned in. They're going to get chances, and you cannot panic. You have to be composed in those moments and see it through. And there were times in that Spurs game where he was awful. He was absolutely atrocious, and he looked like he was a deer in the headlights at times. But tonight he was much better. It was good to see him take the ball and bring the ball out as well, because more often than not, it's safe, very, very safe with him. But he's got that in his locker where he can put his foot on the ball and take it 20 yards. And I like to see a bit more of that from him as well, because it just opens up more options going forward. It's one thing that you get from Joe Matip that is brilliant with him, that because it just, you saw it as well with Robertson. When Robertson came on, first thing he did was he took the ball 30 yards up the pitch and won a throw.
Yeah,
it's just alleviating that bit of pressure, and it's like a release valve, and it's like you're resetting the game from the halfway line forward and taking pressure off. But that's all it is, just knowing when to do it and when not to do it.
I thought in general, actually, the much maligned midfield that we have, on the whole, did all right.
Yeah,
I think second half we were sometimes a bit too open than we probably would have liked. But I thought in general, as a unit, it did fine. Nothing spectacular, but I kind of thought, I think the whole performance wasn't spectacular. It was just kind of one of those routine job done sort of things. You'd have liked an extra. You probably would have liked a second goal just to make it a little bit less
more
nervous.
comfortable. You can sit back sit back into the sofa and watch it then, rather than sitting up that little bit forward, and you're like, ooh.
But other than that, you saw. I mean, James Pearce. My God, have you read his tweets? It's like he shits the bed every 2 minutes.
Yeah, I don't
what a great chance for an equaliser. And you watch them, and then I watched the chance that they could have equalised in the last minute. You're going, he's never scored for that in a month of Sundays. If he does, it's a world class finish. Again, the lad hasn't got that in his locker, so they're like,
what can you do? I mean, it's the end of the day. They've got copies and clicks to get, and copies to sell, and what have you, and advertisers that they need to keep happy. So it is what.
And so do we. Hit the like button, everybody! Quick, hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
So, I mean, Darwin wins the penalty. Let's be honest. Who was concerned about Mo stepping up to hit it? I wasn't. Kev?
No,
I had the alerts on my phone. I already knew it had got in. I was cheating. I forgot to turn the alerts off on my phone, and it just went bong. I wasn't nervous because he'd scored one last week. So in my head, I think most of those people, once he's done it, he's got the monkey off the back. Then, so I don't think he's bothered after that. But I think it would have been. That's 2 in a row now that he's gone down the middle. If he gets another one,
I think then he goes for a side. Then
it'll be a brave keeper who stands still. It'll be a brave keeper, and I don't know why more keepers don't do it. Why they don't take the risk.
Pickford made Madison look like a bit of a fool.
Exactly.
On Monday.
Yeah,
that was definitely no issue from England, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And
from Pickford's colourful water bottle. Yes, his very well notated water bottle. So I mean, we get into halftime. It's 1-0. I just say Mo Salah. I mean, if you're going to kick the ball right down the middle, kick it down the middle. He hammered that penalty. That was emphatic. At halftime, I was just kind of going through player by player. I thought pretty much Tsimikas might have been the worst player in the first half. Maybe Darwin, but he did win the penalty. Other than that, I thought everybody was good. Like I get Chris, you were saying like that much maligned midfield. I thought they all played really good. Like Fabinho was kind of doing the Fabinho things. There was one point where, and I think it's where Fabinho really looks at his absolute worst, and it might be true for every player in the world. It's when they get the ball and they're running at him and he's standing still and all the players are running at him. He just looks so slow to turn around. But in that snappy transition where he's able to just put his legs in, like at one point I yelled Daddy Longlegs at the TV because he was doing the things that were remembering Fabinho to do.
Mm.
Very comfortable at the half. Like, was there any concerns for you?
Not really. I was kind of like hoping they'd have got a second before half time. That was better. Rob makes a good point as well. Is how many times has that front three played in that system with that midfield? So I'm happy.
Zero.
Never.
Yeah. So again, there's that element of why doesn't it always look great? Well, it's a different front three with a slight. I mean, that midfield's actually played quite a lot in the last 7 games, but the front three's changed quite a bit. Especially
the dynamics of playing Darwin Núñez in a front three changes everything for how the midfield is going to act with that forward line, and it also makes a difference to how Luis Diaz is going to play with cutting inside. Does he? And it's the one thing that was noticeable. He never, whereas Salah will hug the right hand touchline. You know, he will stay wide.
Oh, he likes to wander that. He likes to wander, doesn't he, Diaz? It's not in a good way.
Diaz comes inside. He doesn't start from wide left to come inside. Very rarely you'll see him hanging out on the left wing. The odd time in a game he might pick the ball up 2 or 3 times, maybe out wide on the line and do something. More often than not, he's in an inside left forward position, looking to come inside further, and it's all about creating more overloads and drawing centre backs out of position to free up space for runners in behind. And I mean, Jordan Henderson will always get his detractors because
they're in the comments already. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, look, at the end of the day, Jordan Henderson can't do the work that we need that position to do. He can't. He doesn't have the legs for it. What he makes up for it is his ability to read play is very good still. He still cuts off passing lanes really well, and his passing is still really good. He doesn't give.
He's still one of the best for linking up with Mo as well.
Yeah, he doesn't give the ball up cheaply very often, and he still gets in his fair share of ball recoveries as well. I think it's probably 6 or 7 today, and he's very good at walking players through, and he doesn't give a shit about this idea of do as I say, not as I do kind of crap. It's like he will tell people rightly or whether they need to be doing something better or not, even if he is having a crap game. Even if he ain't at the standard where he knows he needs to be, he ain't shy about telling anyone else the same thing that a captain should be telling them. Now, at the end of the day, you can see how the players react to him. Nobody is like waving them away or rolling their eyes or shaking their head or anything remotely close to that. So he's still got the command of the dressing room and he's still got the respect in the dressing room. It's just, you got to accept the fact that he's got a lot of mileage in his legs, a lot, too much for someone who's playing too much football. And that will definitely be something that's addressed in the summer, 100%.
Well, according to the comments, he can't pass the ball. He gives it away every time, and his passing's atrocious. But
all right,
he can't please
everyone. It's one of those things that the facts and the stats and the reality doesn't back up the agendas that people have against the guy. And it's the same with any player. Once people get an agenda against the player, it doesn't matter what he does. They've got an agenda against the player, and we've seen it with Jordan Henderson. We've seen it with James Milner. We've seen it with plenty of players down the years. The Fabinho a couple of months ago, he's playing crap, but nobody thought for a second that he wouldn't come out of it. It's like he's crap now, sell him. It's like everything is like now immediate, straight in front of your face. No context, no clarity, no thought about anything. It's just immediate reaction, instant reaction, and be damned with everything.
If we get the
burn the house down kind of thing.
Yeah.
To me, it's stupid. It's childish.
If we get the summer right, a lot of Hendo's minutes are getting cut because in theory he should be
100%.
4th or 5th. Then he'd be the rotation player. Look, I think he knows that. I think he knows that's coming.
Rightly so as well. At that age, at 32, pushing 33 years of age, that's just reality. Father Time is undefeated. For a reason.
If we got our summer recruitment right, that's what Thiago should have been this year. He should have been the luxury option. But again, when he's been fit, I think he's been overplayed, and I think that's why he's knackered his hip again. But
the problem is he's fit, he's available, unlike some of the others that just aren't available. He's available more often than not. And if he's available and they're not available, he's got no choice but to play him. Because it is what it is. That's just the way it is. You can't sign anyone. There is no one else to come and take his minutes off him. So what do you want?
Put it this way, Kev. I don't think I see people in here, like time does catch up with Henderson. He doesn't have the legs that he had 7, 8, 10 years ago, sort of thing. I don't think his issue, if you had issue with Henderson's game today, I don't think it was with his legs and his running and his desire and being in the right position. It was more his final ball. His choice of pass was a little bit lacking today. You know, that loopy back post Henderson cross that everybody seems to hate, except for when you look at all the times that it's led to goals at the back post. You know, Sadio Mane loved a back post header tap in from a Jordan Henderson loopy cross. Henderson, I thought, in terms of covering the spaces, he was the one out of the midfield that was willing to drive forward. It was Jones you'd see dropping back in to help recycle the ball at the back with the defense more, and Henderson would be the one pushing forward and leading the press from the front. I don't think today is a game. Like, there's plenty of games. You can go back through other shows and look through the chat, and you'll find people rightfully criticizing Henderson because his legs didn't seem up to it. I don't think today was one of those days at all. And the same with Fabinho. I don't think either of them, the charges that have been leveled at them so far this season, was the issue with them. I thought Fabinho actually had quite a good game, and Henderson was more than passable. It's just his final touch let him down, but he's not alone in that.
The other thing as well about Curtis Jones taking that position, dropping deeper into that left-sided centre mid role, taking the ball deeper from Virgil. He does it because he's really good at it.
Yeah,
you know, his ball retention is as good as anyone's, and
he's also comfortable taking it under pressure, isn't he?
He's deceivingly strong on the ball. There was a couple of times tonight where Fulham got in and around him, and Paulinho tried to get tackles in on him and that, and he just either stroked him off, protected the ball, and played the simple pass off. I always knew that Curtis Jones was a decent player. Always knew he was never going to be sold. I said it multiple times, he's not going to be sold. But at the end of the day, you can see why what the coaches are seeing in training is being translated onto what he's able to do on the pitch. And going forward, if you have a player who can do that in a Europa League and maybe get 7 or 8 Premier League starts, as well as cup games, that's the bones of 20, 25 games a season to start. Plus, you're going to drop him in and maybe another 10 times off the bench. It's a squad game for a reason. That's exactly the type of squad player that you need. Someone you can trust to take minutes off of someone who's going to be playing week in, week out in the league and help rest and rotate around that. That's exactly what you need. I'd rather have a Curtis Jones times 2 or 3 to replace Naby or Ox this season than anything else. You know,
well, there you go. Perfect comment, Paul Giovanni. Haters gonna hate, but Jones is doing what Ox and Keita can.
Well,
yeah, when he's
at the moment, yes, because at the moment Jones is fit, and when he's fit and then available, he's given minutes. And unfortunately for Naby and Ox, neither of them. Ox is probably fit now, but he's out the door.
I don't even know if either of them are fit. I just presume always that they're always going to be injured.
Naby, you can. It's just like they're gone. I mean, you've seen the rumors today around James Milner, and it's no surprise. It's no surprise. You know, it really isn't, because someone of that experience to come on 10 minutes to go and just calm people and calm situations down. And it's the one thing I think that we don't do well. It was said in a WhatsApp group that we don't do the snide bits. 5 minutes to go, Alisson takes the ball from one side of the penalty box to the other side of the penalty box and whips a long ball up front for us to try to win a throw-in off of. Ball goes out for a throw-in. I'll wait for him to come up. No, you take it. That kind of stuff. You know, we don't kill games off in that manner where you do see that done, especially on the continent, massively. It's something that we got to start doing. And I know we like the idea of having the ball in play, and if the ball's in play, you've got chances to score. You're 1-0 up. You haven't really troubled their keeper. Just take the win. You know, shut the door and enjoy the win. There's nothing wrong with being snide about stuff. And you saw how the crowd got up when we were pressing the ball. It wasn't from a mischance or anything like that. It was the crowd were getting up from a high press and aggressiveness. But I bet you that if someone went down with Ooh, that's a bit sore. Let's get the trainer on there for a couple of we'll kill 30 seconds.
I did wonder if that Henderson injury.
Brilliant. Absolute shithousery. It was 100% time wasting.
Because even that, in fact, it was a shit back heel, so maybe he just felt bad about it. I don't know. Right, do you know what? We're gonna have to talk about it because, to be fair, a few people asked in the comments now. So, how are we all feeling about the Jude Bellingham news? Because let's be honest, people want to talk about it. So, Matt, how are you feeling about it?
I mean, if people want to talk about it, I would direct them over to Twitter, where I'm sure there is a very educated and logical and compassionate debate going on right now. I put about as much stock into it as I put into the tweet barrage we got a couple weeks ago saying that we've cooled and then we're totally out and we were never even in for Jude Bellingham. We don't even like him anyways, sort of chat that's going on. This is just all the dance. This is still part of the dance. It's worrisome, but I'm just going to continue to presume that this is all just media click-driven BS. Like, it's been, like a week? Was it a week since there was like a headline Jude Bellingham rumor that came out? We were long overdue. It might not be the best omen. I would far prefer to see him, signing paperwork in the inside part of Kirby, but hey, it is what it is. And until you see an official announcement from a team with actual gravitas behind it, I don't know. It's Fabrizio Romano, and he didn't even say hashtag here we go. So I'm not even believing Fabrizio.
No, it came from someone else. It didn't come from that tap-in merchant.
He just copied it.
He just copied it, yeah. It was, look.
Ooh, Fabrizio? No.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought? Who knew, eh?
If he goes to Madrid, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be happier if he goes to Madrid than anyone else. Basically, because the fact I could sit and watch him and enjoy him next season without having to worry about having to play him. We'll worry about that next year or the year after. No, look, if Real Madrid come calling and you're 20 years of age, 21 years of age, and by the way, Toni Kroos is leaving and we want you to come in and play at Real Madrid for the next 10 to 12 years and look at what Luka Modric has done. Difficult one to say no to because you're going to be playing at probably one of the most prestigious clubs in the world. You're going to be challenging for leagues year in, year out. You're going to be going deep in the Champions League every single year with a really good chance of winning it every single season. And you don't have to play in a league where you've got 8 top teams competing hard for honors, and the odds of you winning anything, unless you're at an oil state cheating bastard club, is made very, very difficult by said oil cheating bastard club. So, yeah, look, he'll never retire from football as a poor man. He'll be a very wealthy individual when he retires. I don't think he says no to Real Madrid if they come knocking. That's the truth, because if it was me as a player and I was given the choice of the two, I'd be going to Real Madrid every day of the week.
Especially,
I just would, because it's Real Madrid, and 2 because you don't have to work as hard for your silverware. You just don't.
I think, look, if he is going there, I think unfortunately it's the truth that nobody wants to admit is the belief that a lot of Liverpool fans had that he only wants Liverpool is maybe not as big as people think, which is probably why this story came out that Liverpool have cooled their interest. I think this is, I always call it get the digging first, which is, we've cooled their interest rather than admitting, a bit like Tchouaméni. He's picked Real Madrid over us. It's shit. It's shit, because you'd rather we had him, but the only thing I'm hoping is because this is getting hopefully decided so early, we've already moved on to something else, and I'm hoping we've got something else sorted very, very quickly. I mean, we've also got comments from a few of the guys here who are asking about. Nate's asking us how much do we reckon McAllister's will cost. Also, thank you, Nick. Sorry, what's the next first? Sorry. Who gives a super chat, much appreciated. That'll go into the charity fund. What percentage do you give us making top 4, Kev? Oh, have you got? And that looks like he's got some statistics. So we'll ask Kev.
I
Absolutely
have an actual percentage based answer for you, and it was through our show sponsor bookmakers.com, who linked me to the 538 article stating that Liverpool currently have a 12% chance of finishing in the top four. 12%. You gotta like it. It's 538. You know, these guys predict elections and stuff like that. So that's what I'd say. Nick's, the streets are buzzing. Thanks very much for the, I believe that's $5 Australian. So $350 of that's going to go into the charity fund, which we'll get to at the end of the show. To me, the thing I've taken out of this, and I mentioned this to you, Kev, after the show we did. I don't even know, one of them. We were chit-chatting afterwards, and I think this might signal if Jude Bellingham isn't coming to Liverpool, because I still firmly believe, and less firmly today than I did the day before, that we're in for Bellingham. And if he wants to come to Liverpool, he'll come to Liverpool this year. And I think he is the best possible signing we could make. I think it might be a change in how we're approaching things. And if he goes for 150 million euros and we take 100 million of those euros that we could have spent on him, and we go and we buy Josko Gvardiol with it, and then another 50 gets you a Mason Mount or, you know, an Ugarte or part of a McAllister. You know, you put that comment up there, how much we think McAllister might go for. I think it'll be more than 50 million, probably 60, maybe 70. But I can see that because as the chair of the three at the back committee, if we had a proper left-sided center half that was also comfortable shifting out and playing left fullback when you revert into a 4-3-3 formation, I think that might be something that this team is really, really missing, because Trent looks great where he is. So that really, it honestly does. Like, it sounds like a BS excuse. Like, he's like a new signing when somebody signs a contract extension. Trent showing, 5 games in a row now, that he can play this midfield position. And the worries that a lot of people had, myself included, that he would get lost having that 360 field around him to worry about. He's proven me wrong so far. So I'm okay with that. And I think it might just signal a change in our transfer interest. So as much as it would crush me, and I think it's very disappointing if we don't get Jude Bellingham, if he wants to go to Real Madrid, he goes to Real Madrid. But man, a top end left-sided center half to help the transition out of Virgil van Dijk might be just the tonic for us.
Yeah, I mean, Olivier is also asking, is that Ugarte fella on his way or not? I mean, that's the other name that keeps getting thrown around at the moment. He seems to be, but there seems to be certain ones we're going for. It seems to be definitely being linked with a holding type midfielder. So whether that means Fabinho's going, we're buying him competition, even I'm fine with, to be honest. And then the others are more progressive midfielders. So Mount could play one of the left or the right higher up. So could Gravenberch. He can also play deeper, but he tends to be there. And McAllister, again, probably playing where Jones did, gives you that option. So I kind of see what we're looking for, those sort of names. I mean, the McAllister one seems to have a bit more meat in the bones, because Paul Joyce doesn't normally name drop players unless there's a little bit of substance to it, because that's just kind of how he works. So, but maybe that's the way it is. You know, we're going to look for 3 very good players as opposed to 1 worldy, which I'll be honest, the state that the squad's in, we probably do need that.
We'll find out a bit more about McAllister from a Brighton perspective on Friday night, because Joe's coming on from Albion Obsessed. And I like Joe, and the fact that he's normally
he's level-headed.
But he'll also blow the transfer valuation out of the water.
He's already told me 100 million won't buy his leg. Yeah, so you know.
But at the same time, I think McAllister looks like the one that has the most meat on the bones. Mount, I'm not sure of. I wouldn't be surprised if Tommy Tuchel took a punt on him. Maybe take him to.
I think also Bayern. Pochettino room to go to Chelsea. Mount's probably that type of player. Mount's the sort of player that he'd probably quite like. So that might invigorate that a little bit.
I think the Bellingham stuff you could. I actually believe that we did put an offer in, and it wasn't. I think the offer was 95 million euro, which is to me all of the money for someone of how good. And I think he's going to be absolutely elite. But he's got 2 years left in his contract, and if you have to spend 95 million to get him and you can't, then fair enough, because that after that it hampers everything that you need to do. And we do need to do other business as well. And it can't just be gambles. You have to be bringing in players who are going to hit the ground running, because as we've seen with Arsenal this season, with Man City, with other clubs that are going to improve, you have to hit the ground running. And this season is a long season. And next summer, this summer is probably the last summer that these players are going to have any meaningful time off for a good while. Yeah. So if we're going to be in the Europa League, I'd rather take a punt on players to develop for 12 months so that you get them absolutely banging the following year, even if they're that bit younger, if they're that much of a risk. Say if you're buying a £50 million player to kick on, to be that Caicedo going forward, do you get what I mean? You can take that risk. You can take that risk by using the Europa League to do it. Whereas if you're in the Champions League, you can't take that risk. And I think Arsenal and Newcastle, if Newcastle get into the Champions League, will see that problem next season, where Newcastle didn't have Europe to contend with. That's a huge ask for a club. And Arsenal won't be able to take the luxury that they did this season with the Europa
playing
League.
the same 11 players every single game.
Exactly. They basically played a core 13 players in the Premier League for
they made
as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, the fewest changes to the starting 11 out of any team in the Premier League this
year. That won't be possible next season.
Yeah. At the flip side, I think it's Chelsea and Nottingham Forest are the teams that have made the most changes. And that makes sense because those are the teams that had to build auxiliary dressing rooms to house all of their new signings.
Chelsea with the 75 players and they're still shit. It's brilliant.
They were
interesting.
bad yesterday.
It's an interesting one, because what if we pay for two players and get a third and a free? I mean, he's mentioned Kanté and Tielemans. I
wouldn't go near either of them.
Yeah, Tielemans because he's got no legs, and we've already got a midfield with no legs. And Kanté can't stay fit until he's playing Liverpool. Then he's brilliant.
Tielemans wasn't terrible against Everton on Monday. I don't know. Tielemans didn't look like a guy with
Matt, you me won't be terrible against Everton.
No.
Let's be fair.
And look, let's be honest. Yuri Tielemans can't do it for
60 minutes,
3 games in a row, let alone 60 minutes or 90 minutes in one game. He just can't. He physically can't do it, and that's at the pace that he's playing at Leicester. As for N'Golo Kante, a brilliant player. Arguably one of the best signings in Premier League history when he was brought in by Leicester. Arguably up there with some of the best value for money signings ever made. But he's another one. His age is just the wrong side, where if you're trying to evolve this squad for a side that's going to compete for the next 5 years, you have to be looking at players 21 to 24. Ideally.
Ooh, that's an interesting. That's an interesting one. Because Gundogan's apparently available for free. I don't think he goes to the biggest club.
Klopp doesn't go back to X's.
No,
he doesn't do
he tried to, but it didn't work out for him.
Gundo is supposed to be heavily linked with Barcelona, but Barcelona are going to have to pay an arm and a leg to get Messi back, or
find more levers.
Plus, they got Bobby Firmino coming in as well.
Is Messi going to Saudi Arabia?
Well, he went for a holiday there, didn't he?
Oh, you think him and Ronaldo could play for the same team?
I think that the Saudis would pay to see it.
Of course they would.
And I think the world would pay to watch it.
They'd pay to host it.
I think the world would pay to watch it. The Saudis want to launch a league to rival the MLS inside a couple of years. You know what I mean? They will pay huge money to do this. They don't have the confines of financial fair play to worry about. They don't have the confines of UEFA's rules around financial fair play to worry about.
Wasn't this the same worry, though, Kev, with the Chinese league a few years ago when it was like, the Chinese are putting a pile of money into their league. They want to have a league that rivals the Premier League.
You're dealing with a country who wants to host the World Cup in 2030 and who aren't built like China, who don't have the sporting lust to be the sports capital of the world like Saudi Arabia does. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, if the Saudis want to put a team together around, or a league together around 2 players, they'll do it with those 2. And you might not pay to watch it. I certainly won't, but I guarantee you there are millions of people around the world who will pay to watch that. And look at what the money into PSG, the investment into PSG did for French football. TV rights around the world as compared to what it did for the league. Yeah, it handed the league to PSG year in, year out, more or less, bar one. But what it did is it filled the grounds of every stadium that PSG went to play in France. And it sold global TV rights to the French league like never before. So the rest of the league are fine with it because they're getting paid.
Yeah.
And
it won't be for long though, Kev, because that stuff is all going to get changed with the changes to broadcasting that are inevitably coming in the next 10 years in the global consumption of this sport. Like,
Lucas is making a great point there. Sky are now showing Saudi games ever since Ronaldo went there.
Yeah.
They're too old. They're just too old. If they'd have done this 3 years ago, they might actually have a case. But I think both of them, especially Ronaldo, his star is on the wane. He's on the way down. If they want to do that, they should go and sign Mbappe for £1 billion. But that won't happen because of inter-regional rivalries and politics and all that sort of stuff going on. Like if Lionel Messi wants to finish his career off by making absolute buckets and buckets full of more money by playing in Saudi Arabia, he can go the way of Cristiano Ronaldo, because honestly, Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy to me might be the biggest loser of this season.
Yeah. The thing is, ever since he left Juventus, even his last year at Juventus was poor. But, really and truly, it was when he left Real Madrid, he went down the sliders from there. But, we're probably, that aside, you look at the summer that we need to have, we're probably going to be looking to bring in 4 players. 3 of them will probably be midfielders, be it a holding midfielder, attacking midfielders. What would you do with the 4th signing? Would you bring in a defender or a forward?
It's got to be a defender.
Really?
As much as I'd love a forward, I think we need a centre-back, because I don't think you can go into another season hoping Canate, Matip and Gomez, because and to be fair, Van Dijk.
I'm assuming the 4 that we're losing on frees are being replaced with 4 players. I'm not talking about selling a Joel Matip to bring in another centre back.
Oh yeah, I'm still. If it's me, I'm selling Joel Matip and bringing a replacement.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the 4 players that we're losing. We're losing Bobby, forward.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Ox, Milner, utility player, and Naby, midfielder. That's why I would look to bring in a forward.
Right, I see what you mean.
I think you got to have 6 forwards.
I thought you meant if we're only bringing 4 in. That's what.
Yeah, I think you have to have 6 forwards going into a season, going into any season, and I don't see Carvalho being a forward, not one that we can trust.
How did you feel then, Kev, about Harvey Elliott tonight? In that, it was just what did he have? 10-minute cameo there, playing the right wing in the new system.
I don't mind that as an option. Genuinely, I think he can do the role. I think in Europa League games, I think that would be his starting role. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if him and Ben Doak aren't looked at as 2 players, one to start, one to come off the bench in those Europa League early League Cup games.
Yeah,
but I think long term, if you wanted, I'd be looking to bring in Michael Olise from Crystal Palace in as a long term option to play on the wing.
Apparently, Stephen Colker's looking for a club. Yeah, I've heard he could do a job up front.
Yeah, I have to catch up with that one yet.
Yeah, I know you like Olise, Kev, but the way he's been playing, he's here's a sentence I never thought has been uttered before. Revitalized under the managership of Roy Hodgson. The last few games, he's looked so good, and his price is going through the roof.
Thor made a good point there about
Kay
Gordon. I think Kay Gordon has missed so much football this year.
He might need
the best thing that could happen to Kay Gordon now would be maybe go to Scotland, go on loan to Celtic, or go on loan to Rangers, and play meaningful football in a league where you're going to be dominating the ball and you're going to be on the ball more often than not. and you can do something that way. You know, I think he needs to rebuild his fitness, his strength. He's also missed a year of football, you know, and an important year at that. I think down the line he could be something that the club maybe looks to cash in on, you know, in a couple of years' time, if he doesn't quite make the grade. But a good loan move would certainly help that. But we also have another loan player out of Bolton, who I think could be involved in the squad next season. Genuinely, I think he's a serious player.
I think he does pre-season and gets another loan at a slightly higher level. That's what I think happens to him. What's this? Oh, no.
Ant Mick says Cruyff walks so Hodgson could run. #total football.
Take those words out of your mouth. That's disgusting.
That's shades of the new Ted Lasso episode from last week, I think, as well too. I think in the academy, I think we got a pretty good buildup of players in that 18 to 20-year-old range that all play forward. You know, you got Cannonier, you got Frauendorf, you got Cade Gordon, you got Ben Doak. So I think there'll be a spot up for grabs in preseason. Like you might see one sold, one kept with the unders, one loaned out, and one kept around the first team. And it might just be like one of you's got, you know, there's a job there to win. And if there's not, there should be, you know, you'd think a decent value you could get on a forward come the end of the window. You know, you might get to the end of the summer transfer window and Chelsea will take an absolute bath, take almost no money to get rid of Hakim Ziyech, and you take him for a year.
Yeah,
you know, a player like that.
But we'll see. So
yeah, that Dan Austin makes a point there. Actually, we also need to look at a backup for Trent. I don't know if we take a backup for Trent, but I think it's definitely up. That position is up for grabs with what's his name? Who's out injured at the minute?
Ramsey and Bradley, the two of them.
Exactly. Ramsey had his surgery, so he's had his surgery for the reason to come back and be ready for pre-season. But I think it'll be a straight choice.
That'll be
them two.
But that'll be the interesting tweak, won't it, Kev?
Yeah, one will stay and one will go on low.
But also, if Trent's out,
I think we reverse the type.
Well, yeah, you got to learn. It's a bit like when Thiago's out, which we've never been able to do, is find a different way of playing without him.
What do you do about Thiago, lads?
Me? Yeah. I just let him run his contract out because you'll get piss all money from that'll be of any interest this summer, and you use him for what he should be, which is if you get your summer recruitment right, he's a very handy squad option when he's available, but you're not reliant on him, which I think has been our problem this year. Is we've been wholly reliant on Thiago, what's his name, Keita, Ox. And that's the problem. You're wholly reliant on players that aren't fit. Whereas if he's just a squad option, he's like 5th, 6th choice. And then when he's fit, you throw him in for the running games he's fit, and then you take him out when you don't need him. That's what I would do. I would be asked about he probably won't get his contract renewed, but I think it'd be 34 when his contract ends.
33, 34.
He'll probably want to move on then anyway.
Sepp van der Berg comes back into the equation as well. Scored on his return I think it was last weekend. Scored a goal in his return.
Great.
Had a horrific injury, but by all accounts, had been playing well up until that point, and was really good last season for Preston as well. So he's one who's gone on loan and done every single thing that the club have asked him to do. You know, if anything, what he's done is added to his value, and plus the fact now that he qualifies as a homegrown player as well. That in itself, even if we don't use him, it does add more to the value. I mean, we paid a pittance for him, really. I think 2.5-3 million for him. So at the end of the day, if we keep him, fine. He looks a really competent player. If we sell him, I think you would be looking to get between 10 and 15 million for him, because of the homegrown talent value that he brings, and the fact that when he's on loan, he's played really well.
Yeah, it's another player. Like, again, I feel that we've got a decent enough generation that we should be expecting as a fan base who, I don't know if any of us really follow the unders or the academy players all that seriously. I don't think any of us really do. But it feels like there's enough of a crop there that we should be expecting one of them to hit. You know, whether it's a Sepp Vandenberg, whether it's Connor Bradley playing it right back, you know, it might be Jake Kane or, you know, somebody like that in the midfield. one of these players seems ready to come up, but then 2-3 years time, we should be looking at having pocketed, 80 to 100 million worth of profit off of selling these players on. We gotta get back to doing that properly, and
that's what Chelsea's do really well.
Yeah.
Paul Mullins is homegrown.
Yeah.
Another scouser in the team. Speaking of homegrown, Chris, what's the final score in the Liverpool women's game today? Did they manage to hold on for a point?
No, they lost 2-1 to Chelsea. 88th minute winner for Chelsea. But the only shining light is it might stop Man United winning the league. So that's always helpful. But we had a young girl playing goals today, Faye Kirby, making her league debut. She's only 19. I think she played a couple of League Cup games. She's really good, really, really good. And to be honest, after the debacle of the Leicester game where Liverpool were dreadful, they were dreadful against bottom of the league, got beat 4-0. This was a much better showing, and this was without probably one of our star players, Fuku Nagawa. She's out injured. Kerry Holland went off injured after about 60 minutes. So the span in the midfield's gone. And of all of our pacey wingers, we've got 4 real pace players. Only one's fit. The others are all out. So it was a very patched up Liverpool squad. So actually, to ride Chelsea to a 2-1 actually is positive sides. The good thing is Liverpool are already safe.
That was the main thing.
They're comfortable. The win against Brighton 2 games ago guaranteed safety. So, it's just a bit of just seeing the NC. So we're just planning for next year now and hopefully getting some players back fit. Boggs is laughing. Chris Brackett's homegrown. I am homegrown, but Liverpool aren't that desperate. No one's that desperate.
Well, and MC makes a point. Harvey Davies will probably step into number 3 role.
I think so.
I don't. I think
you think he's number 2, don't you?
I think he'll be number 2 if we bring in Timo Horn. If we bring in Timo Horn, he'll be the Adrian replacement, and Harvey Davies will be number 2.
You just like his name, don't you?
It's just a good feeling. Timo Horn's a decent keeper.
No, I can see Matt's trying not to crack that. I could see the inner child came out then.
There's about half a dozen caps for Germany, but in fairness, in this era for Germany, anyone who gets caps for Germany ahead of Ter Stegen and Manuel Neuer,
done well.
You've done well even to be considered.
But didn't we look at this guy before we signed Karius? I know that's going to give people flashbacks.
No, yeah, but we did. He was a lot younger then. I think he's 29 now. So if you sign someone like it, it'd only be like 1.5 million, 1.5, 2 million. He wouldn't cost the earth. He's experienced. He's been around the Bundesliga all his career. He's been and playing in the Bundesliga at a reasonable level as well. So if you get someone like that in as your number 3, I've no problem with that. Ideally, you'd love to bring in an English player for that frees up options elsewhere. But look, I think Davies looks a proper talent in the same way as Kelleher did at that age. And until you see him playing, you don't know. But all the signs that since I've watched him, be it for the 23s or even last season when it was on preseason, he looks really composed on the ball, really comfortable, and his distribution is excellent. And from what I've seen of his shot stopping, it's really, really good. So, Monsieur Arteta, Romano confirmed the McAllister transfer already, but where to? I'd be very careful about believing things at the minute.
Just see which journals he's copied it off. As I believe David Austin caught him out with something like that once, didn't he?
Yeah,
well, he deliberately leaked the wrong price. He did it as an exclusive, and always said, "Oh, sorry, that was a typo. He should have said 60. He should have said 60, and just made Romano look rather foolish."
Yeah, he's an absolute tap-in merchant.
Shocker. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna take any sort of credence from what Fabrizio Romano said, I might be able to sell you some chicken bones that you can roll if you want to see what's going to happen in the transfer market, because they're probably about as accurate.
Thought I was asking about Everson from Leicester if they go down. It's in fact, he did look good against.
Hey, Everson. I said, Kev, you were on the show with me and Gav where we were kind of playing with a little bit of math, and I said Sam Johnstone and Alex McCarthy, and I believe Gav laughed in my face. And now both of them are getting games for their respective clubs and not looking like terrible options that you'd be able to get.
Sam Johnstone looked shite in the last game he played. Give him
better than fucking Bazunu. Better than Bazunu.
Yeah, the thing is, Alex McCarthy is like a seasoned, experienced player. He's not going to get better.
He's a seasoned
Zunu
backup,
will.
though.
But
He's like a
at the
seasoned
same
backup,
time-
is Timo Horn going to get better?
He doesn't have to if he's number 3. That's
Right,
the whole
and
point.
that's what Alex Johnstone Sam Johnstone. Sam
Johnson was signed for £20 million.
He's that good you can't say his name. That's how good he is.
Yeah, but he was signed. I think he was signed for big money, and this is the problem. Unless you get an English keeper on a free, they don't move for cheap. And if you're going to be looking for some investment to be made, I'd rather the investment is made in positions that affect games throughout a season rather than a number 3 who might play once in the odd game here and there. If we're depending on a number 3 keeper, then our season is absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
honestly,
that's why I'm convinced you're going to get the shirt.
That's why I'm so convinced that Michael Elise has to be in the conversation.
Speaking of keepers,
for a forward point.
Apparently Alisson is now one clean sheet short of 100.
Ooh. I mean, sad about the clean sheet this year. The fact that David De Gea seems like he's going to win the Golden Gloves. I don't know how that's happening because he's just absolutely fallen off a cliff.
I'll tell you now where that is. Hang on. Because I was just curious about that.
If that means that they offer him another extended contract at United, then I'm all for it. He can have his Golden Gloves.
De Gea's had 15 clean sheets this season, and bear in mind that the back four, how many goals they've conceded this season, because United's goal difference is in single figures, I think.
Well, Kev,
bang on 10.
We beat him by 7.
I know, but that aside, the fact that he's got 15 clean sheets,
I know,
in a side that, let's face it, they concede their fair share of goals. It's mad to me. I always find that baffling. What's his name? Alisson's on 12, which, in all fairness, is probably about 4 or 5 short of where he normally is. He'd normally be 17, 18.
I mean, with the shit show he's had in front of him,
with the shit show he's had in front of him this season.
To be fair, 12's quite impressive.
The fact he's got 12 is decent. But even Ederson is nowhere near his normal level for clean sheets. Just goes to show with Man City, they're scoring goals for fun with Haaland, right? But they're conceding a lot more goals this season than they have done in previous years.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is putting soft goals in, but they're only 4-0 up when they do it. But
they're conceding more goals than what they normally do.
Yeah, that's the joy of what happens when you can consistently score 2 or 3 goals every single game, is that clean sheets become that less important for it. I felt the clean sheet, though, to bring it back to today's game, I thought the clean sheet today was wonderful. It was nice to see us getting that 1-0 grinded out. Second half, I thought that was a pretty stock standard performance. And we got it over the line. I thought it was a very professional job from everybody. Yeah. And for the most part, everybody that was asked to play a role played their role today. So that's probably about enough talking for a pretty standard stock home 1-0 victory over mid-table on the beach Fulham. Before we get out of here, Kev, you got anything else? What do you got?
Yeah, I just want to ask you guys for a man of the match quickly, and ask chat as well for a man of the match.
Chris,
man of the match and honourable mention.
Probably Trent, and honourable mention to Alisson. That's about it, really, because everybody else was terrible. They're probably the ones that stood out. Someone's mentioned Salah. Salah had actually had a good game as well, to be fair. But yeah, I'll probably go with Trent.
Yeah, I would say Trent would probably be man of the match. Other than that, it might either have been João Paulinho or Anthony Robinson. I thought they both had spectacular.
Paulinho did have a very good game, to be fair. Yeah,
I thought they were both very, very good for Fulham. Both of them have been huge surprise packages for me this year, especially Anthony Robinson. For me, he's put himself in like the top third, I'd say, of the league's fullbacks in terms of both at the back and going forward. So, but yeah, for me, Trent, 100%. I thought Trent was, again, another great game. Kev?
Kieran B's gone for Trent. Paul Giovanni has gone for Henderson. Mr. Arteta has gone for Salah. Olivier has gone for Trent. Kevin Ball's gone for Trent. Who else do we got? Trent. Fabinho was all right.
John's gone
Trent,
for Klopp.
But Diaz was good. Trent.
You not seen John's comment yet?
No, I'm getting there. I'm slow. Give me a sec.
Come on, Kev. I've got work soon.
Man of the match was Klopp for not getting sent off. In fairness, I thought Klopp was very reserved today, but that touchline ban is coming. without.
But so was the Fulham manager. They referenced it in the commentary, saying, "Well, Marcus Hill's not happy with that penalty, but he's not remonstrating as much as he normally would." So it's always like they were all now going, "Oh God, don't do anything."
Well, one thing I noticed from the highlights that I watched of the Spurs game was after the goal went in, the Spurs caretaker boss, what's his name, Ryan Mason, got right in the face of the fourth official, and right in his face, complaining about Jota, that Jota shouldn't have been on the pitch. Funny how nothing was said.
No.
But
I mean, we've seen Arteta be doing it most of the season.
Yeah, look, for me, it is what it is. He'll probably get a touchline ban and just get on with it because he shouldn't have done what he did.
No.
But that's by the by. I'm glad he did it. It needed to be said. Friday night, we've got Joe on from Albion Obsessed, so we'll get their point of view on McAllister, Caicedo, Matoma, and how many players they're looking to get into their team, into the team of the season.
Whether they can keep Derby.
Hey, listen, they've got enough games in hand to overhaul us. You know, they've got enough
a big game tomorrow.
They've got big games come. If they win that one tomorrow night, they're in with a shout of tipping us into fifth.
I fancy them getting something tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, you know.
Yes.
So the race for fifth now is a straight shootout between us, Brighton, and Villa. I think Spurs' head's gone. So
I think it's just us and Brighton.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. But yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to Joe on Friday night, to be honest.
Yeah, that should be good. And Chris, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm off now until next week. And I'm doing a Keith. I'm off to Brentford on Saturday.
I can't.
I won't talk about it though.
Yeah, need somebody in the chat that has the ability to splice video together needs to go back and collect all the Keith talking about Brentford and then compile all of the inevitable Chris talking about Brentford. And we'll have a battle to see who had the better Anfield Brentford visit.
More importantly, me and Kev are going Villa, aren't we, Kev?
Yeah. Yes, looking forward to that. Can't wait. But no, look, I mean, there's a lot in the chat there about Brighton potentially signing James Milner. Look, Adam Lallana has had a new lease of life since he's gone to Brighton. James Milner could do a really good job for a club like Brighton. You know, it'd be a smart signing.
As long as he plays, that's the main thing. At this point, I think James Milner might have an eye on, I believe that's Gareth Barry that's ahead of him in the all-time league games played. I think he might have an eye on that of going, hey, listen, if you're going to give me 25, 30, because you know he's going to stay healthy. Yeah.
There's a long summer ahead, Paul.
Yeah, the Brack Plunkett Derby. The Brack Plunkett Derby. Sounds like a cricket trophy that you'd give away.
It does sound like a cricket trophy.
The Brack Plunkett trophy for best Brentford performance. I mean, I'm pretty sure we lost that game that Keith went to, didn't we?
No, they won 2-0.
Did they win that one? Oh, I'm thinking of the other one. Well, anyway.
That's only when you go. That's when we lose.
Nah, hey. Saw Luis Diaz score an absolute screamer when we were down to 10 men against Crystal Palace. And the joy of seeing Nat Phillips start a game for Liverpool in the flesh. So I'll always have that over a lot of people. I don't know if that's something worth bragging about.
I'll have the 7-0 over Man United, so that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. I can tell you what is worth bragging about. That's thanks again to Nick's. The streets are buzzing. I hope they're doing well in the playoffs if they're still in the playoffs. But with his $5 Australian super chat tonight, he threw $3.50 Australian into our GoFundMe that we're helping out with the 12 women from Dublin that are running the Dublin Marathon to raise money for breast cancer awareness. If you click the description of the show, I mean, all the people that are here regularly, we see you all in the chat. Fantastic. You guys all know the drill. Throw it into your social media. Hit a like on this video, but mostly support the charity campaign. See a few names in here I don't see before. You know, a Monsieur Arteta decided to pop in and see what's going on with the rest of the league after demolishing Chelsea yesterday, which is great. You got the money, Mr. Arteta. Go on over to the GoFundMe, help these women out, hit their fundraising goal before they end up running that Dublin Marathon in October. And if you're looking for something funny and jolly to do with sports and leisure, Gav of running this show, he also has his golf channel, Bang Average Golf. Go over, check that out. See if you can learn how to hit a fairway wood or a driver with his new pro videos that have come out. It's quite funny. And I believe tomorrow there's going to be a midweek fix. I'm not entirely sure the format, whether it's going to be call-in, random stuff, or whether it's going to be full Liverpool based, but Red Steve, I believe, knows. So if anybody has any questions about that, just get a hold of Red Steve about tomorrow's show. Any questions you have, he's the guy. So But other than that, thanks for joining us, everybody. Like I said, hit the like button on your way out. Support our charity if you can. Let everybody else know they can support it as well, too. It finished at Anfield. Liverpool 1, Fulham 0. The Reds march on. See you guys next game.